Thank you, Chair Ting. I'm Karen Getman, and I'm here representing the proponents of the California Children's Education and Healthcare Protection Act of 2016. If approved by the voters, it will extend the income tax rate increase on high earners that was first enacted by Proposition 30. I think you've introduced everybody at the table already. You may recall that Proposition 30 was passed by the voters in 2012 when California was reeling from the Great Recession and school funding had been decimated. Public education lost more than $50 billion in school funding over that time period. There were 30,000 teachers laid off. Class sizes were among the largest in the country. School districts were shortening the school year, and college fees were increasing rapidly. Proposition 30 was designed to help the state balance its budget and keep schools from facing even more devastating cuts. Among other things, it enacted a 1/4 cent sales tax increase to help pay for important programs like local public safety as part of a long-term solution to balance the state budget. That sales tax increase is due to expire at the end of this calendar year. Proposition 30 also enacted a higher income tax rate for high-earning individuals and couples. That is, back in 2012, $250,000 for single filers, heads of households making more than $340,000, and married couples with income over $500,000. The proceeds of that increased income tax is deposited in a special account within the general fund that is continuously appropriated, 89% to school districts and 11% to community college districts. The income tax increases are due to expire in 2018. Proposition 30 has been a huge success. It has raised $31 billion and let districts rehire teachers and support staff, reduce class sizes, bring new supplies into the classroom, reinstate music and art programs, and stabilize tuition rates. This measure would allow the Proposition 30 sales tax increase to expire, but it continues the Proposition 30 income tax rates on high-end earners for an additional 12 years, through 2030. It does not enact any new taxes. Rather, it just extends the existing tax on the wealthiest Californians. The money will still be continuously appropriated to school districts and community college districts. In other words, schools will continue to receive Proposition 30 funds through 2030, rather than facing another steep drop in funding just 2 years from now that would surely result yet again in teacher layoffs and larger class sizes. In his May revision, the governor said that if Proposition 30 taxes expire, there will be a $4 billion state deficit in the first year, but if they are extended, the state's books will again come into balance. Besides allowing the sales tax to expire, there's one main difference between this measure and Proposition 30. To provide extra flexibility to the state to meet the costs of providing health care to low-income children and families, the measure allows a portion of the income tax revenues, up to a cap of $2 billion, to be used for certain Medi-Cal expenses. This only occurs, however, when all basic workload budget needs have been met, including all Proposition 98 requirements. In other words, if in future years Proposition 30 income tax rates on high-end earners generate more money than is needed to meet the Proposition 98 guarantee and to meet the basic workload budget needs of the state, then up to 50% of the remainder, but no more than $2 billion, will be allocated to the state's Medi-Cal program to pay for critical emergency, acute, and preventive health care services for children and their families. The payment to Medi-Cal can be suspended by statute if a budget emergency has been declared under Prop 2. The funds that are provided for education cannot be delayed or withheld in the event the budget bill is delayed, and there are strict accountability measures. None of these monies can be used for administrative costs. Local school districts have discretion on how to spend the funds within the schools, but the district governing boards must make their decision in an open public meeting and must post on the district websites how they have spent the funds. Those expenditures are audited as part of the district's annual financial audit. In addition, the special account established within the general fund is subject to audit to ensure the funds were properly accounted for and properly dispersed. This measure has the support of a wide coalition of teachers, doctors, educators, community organizations, working families, and business groups. Those supporting the measure include the California Teachers Association, the California Medical Association, the California Federation of Teachers, the California Children's Hospital Association, the California School Employees Association, the California Hospital Association, the Service Employee International Union, and the Association of California School Administrators. Well, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Ms. McLeod.
Thank you. You have 10 minutes left. Thank you. Good afternoon, chairs and members of the committees. My name is Ann McLeod, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Health Policy and Innovation for the California Hospital Association. For children, education and healthcare are essential and are dependent on one another. Even with adequate schools, our children cannot obtain an education if illness prevents them from attending school. And children growing up in communities without adequate health care are more likely to get sick or have chronic medical conditions that prevent them from regularly attending school. Having health care coverage is not the same as having access to care. California proudly led the nation by expanding Medi-Cal, which now covers nearly 7 million children in California. However, many providers are unwilling to treat Medi-Cal patients, including our state's youth, due to low reimbursement rates. The Medi-Cal program invests less in primary care visits than the $16 most parents pay to get a haircut for their children. When parents can't get their kids in to see a doctor, they often turn to hospital emergency departments as a last resort. The Children's Education and Healthcare Protection Act of 2016 can help open the door to access and help make sure that kids on the Medi-Cal program can be cared for in the most appropriate setting, which actually can lower costs and improve patient well-being. Our kids deserve access to quality care when and where they need it. Improved funding will increase access to preventive and primary care, which is far less costly than treating children in the emergency room. The Medi-Cal program is starting from a position of chronic underfunding, near the bottom in provider reimbursements compared to most other states in the nation. This initiative will provide up to $2 billion in new Medi-Cal funding, which when matched with federal funds can secure billions in additional resources to improve access for some of Californians' most vulnerable citizens, our children on Medi-Cal. The Act will direct funding to the Medi-Cal program to ensure kids have access to primary and preventive care, and will ensure that in the event of an emergency or an acute condition, our children can access the services they need to make them well again. The economic benefits of healthy children include reductions in emergency room visits due to improved access to this preventative care. Also saving California employers due to family health issues, forcing workers to stay home to take care of sick kids. And a better chance for students to stay healthy and attend school, ensuring they get a good education. Thank you for your time and interest today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Dan Reynolds, and I've been a teacher in the Mount Diablo Unified School District in the Bay Area for 15 years. I teach English at Mount Diablo High School, my alma mater. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to tell you all the harsh story of what the students, educators, and families in my district endured during the recession and why it is important that we continue to value education. Mount Diablo Unified has more than 30,000 students and more than 1,600 teachers. We are one of the 50 largest school districts in the state. During the recession, we saw years of deep cuts. Between 2009 and 2012, there were about $59 million in cuts in my district. Budget chaos caused hundreds of preliminary pink slips to go out in my district, more than 600 pink slips just in the 2008-09 school year alone. This sparked lasting job market turmoil and uncertainties that have now fueled the current teacher shortage as discouraged educators went elsewhere or left the profession. Class sizes went up, most dramatically in our elementary school classrooms, some of which went from a maximum of 20 up to 31. Over the recession period, the district laid off more than 200 teachers. That included more than 60 elementary teachers, 24 special education teachers, and 23 school librarians. Also cut were educators for reading and math intervention, adult education, career technical education, and world languages. Busing was cut back. Athletics were eliminated, and special education assistants and school classified employees had their hours slashed. School libraries were shuttered. Elementary music programs were completely wiped out. The school year itself was shortened, and teachers took unpaid furlough days to help the district make ends meet. Our students can't afford to go back to those dark days. The people of our state clearly value education. They voted to pass Proposition 30. Unless we extend its current income tax rates on the wealthiest 2% of Californians, our schools will lose $4 billion a year. This fiscal year, my district alone received more than $42 million in Prop 30 funding that has put our classrooms back on the road to recovery. Prop 30 has helped undo some of the massive damage our schools suffered. Class sizes are beginning to come back down. We reopened our libraries, but only 2 days a week. Slowly, elementary music is coming back. Athletics are back, and hours are being restored for our vital support staff. Prop 30 has helped, but we are not even yet back to where we were. And we shouldn't be working just to be where we were. We should be striving to move our schools forward. My students deserve every resource we have to give. For the sake of my students and all students statewide, we need to continue to value education. We need to continue to protect the existing resources our schools so badly need. Please support California's Children's Education and Healthcare Protection Act in November.
Thank you. Mr. Newman, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Newman. I'm a history professor and the faculty union president at Cosumnes River College, a mid-sized community college of 16,000 students in the Los Rios district, 10 miles south of Sacramento. Thank you very much for the opportunity today to speak to the importance of passing an extension of Proposition 30. Our hardworking students attending higher education need this measure to achieve greater access and success in the state's community college system. For the past 15 years, I've witnessed firsthand the impact of fluctuations in state funding on community college students, including my 26-year-old daughter, Chelsea. She attended Cosumnes River College for 3 years between 2009 and 12 before transferring to nursing school. In 2008, when the recession hit, my college was compelled to cut dozens of courses and programs essential for students to earn a certificate or transfer to a 4-year institution. At my college, we lost 2,000 students because we could not offer enough essential courses, including chemistry, biology, math, and English. The courses we did offer became over-enrolled to the detriment of both students and faculty. Tuition increases for students and pay cuts for faculty followed. Layoffs of part-time instructors, who make up 2/3 of our teaching corps, devastated many key programs like art, music, and physical education that students need for general education. As dozens of courses disappeared from the college catalog, my wife and I talked at the dinner table with our daughter Chelsea and her friends about the barriers they were experiencing in higher education. Because of the passage of Prop 30 in 2012, we were able to begin the long process of adding back courses and reducing class sizes. We also rehired dozens of part-time instructors and expanded our full-time professor ranks by 20 new hires. Our daughter Chelsea was able to take the crucial chemistry courses needed to transfer and become a registered nurse, and her friends in the career and technical education major were able to gain greater access to welding, carpentry, and other industrial courses needed to obtain certificates to start work on construction sites in the city. For my family and the young millennials that we know, Prop 30 was the lifeline that saved their college education. But at my college, we have not yet completed the process of restoring all of the needed courses and instructors to get the system back to its high productivity before the recession. If we lose Prop 30, we risk turning back the clock to the darker days of 2009, when course cancellations and layoffs turned thousands of students away. I urge you to extend Proposition 30 so that another generation of community college students like my daughter Chelsea can achieve their dream of an affordable college education. Thank you.
Thank you. Come back to the committee. Any questions from the committee? Mr. Thurmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the presenters. I wanted to ask, in the presentation from our representative from Mount Diablo Unified, you addressed that even with Prop 30 funds, it really only brought education sort of back part of the way. And you talked about not being able to, that prior to Prop 30, we lost a lot of teachers and it is impacting us still with the teacher shortage. And I ask that because sometimes people say to me, oh, well, we've got Prop 30 now. We don't need anything else. We're okay on education. But you're presenting a much different picture, that with Prop 30, we're only achieving some basic funding, and that without it, we'd be in a really dangerous place. Could you elaborate more on those examples that you gave about only being able to do part-time class library hours and how the lack of funding prior to Prop 38 has hurt us with our teacher shortage, even in ways that we're experiencing now?
We saw years and years of cuts, and that included people and programs. And those have not all come back. We aren't back to where we were before. We've had Prop 30 since 2012, and so it is bringing those things back slowly. Just this year in the spring, my school district finally brought back fourth grade music. Fifth grade music had been brought back a year before. So those programs are back where they were. But the library at my high school, still only open 3 days a week. Others, and the elementary or middle schools, it's fewer. We have our librarians who are split sometimes over 5 schools, because some of our elementary librarians, they're only going 1 day a week to each school. What Prop 30 has done really is it stopped the bleeding and started to bring those resources back, but we are not yet back to where we were before the recession, when you consider that everything continues to move forward and all the things that you have to pay for still cost. They still got to turn the lights on and get the kids to school and those things.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the proponents for your perspective on it. We are going to need this $4 to $9 billion going forward, especially with the volatility of our tax structure and the volatility of the economy. Fortunately, we do have a rainy day fund, but that is one element that is important. But when we see the fluctuations, when we see recessions, when we see the volatility of our tax structure, it presents a series of challenges for those of us on the Budget Committee going forward, if we're going to be here for any considerable length of time. So I just wanted to, I guess, put it out on the table how you would address those questions about the sort of built-in volatility we have with our tax structure. And when we passed Prop 30 initially, we were in a different economic place in California. We are in a surplus situation now. So how do you address some of those challenges, maybe from those who would question the wisdom of extending? And I should say, I support the continuation of this. It's going to be critical for our budget going forward. But how do you address those questions?
Mr. Mullen, I think those are obviously difficult questions about the tax structure of California. We don't even attempt to address those through this measure. That tax structure is what we have to live with right now in education. And so the most important thing is to make sure that the volatility does not include a drop 2 years from now in education. That's the most volatile thing that could happen to the schools. So this continues the revenues for schools for another 12 years. That brings some stability to schools, and working with Proposition 98 hopefully prevents another devastation while we rebuild our teacher workforce. Remember, we lost a generation of teachers and need to rebuild that over the next few years. So this at least gives us another 12 years of stability in education.
Thank you. Senator Bell.
I had a question. I really am concerned about Health and Human Services as well as the education system and what the impact of this ballot measure would have. One of the questions I think about all the time is, in my career here as a legislator and even before, of the lost opportunity for federal funds that exist, and has there been any study on if this does pass, how much additional federal funds would come to California from various places versus also how much federal funds would we lose if it doesn't pass? I think there has to be kind of a comparison, and the public should know that this isn't just the state funds that are sitting there. We would lose federal funds, but is there an estimate or is there any evaluation of that particular issue? Thank you.
I'll answer quickly just regarding the healthcare funds to Medi-Cal. Any of the new funds to the Medi-Cal program, especially those that are directed towards physician services, preventive care, primary care, all of those would be federally matched. So we're talking in excess of potentially $1 billion a year in new federal funding that could support that program.
So in terms of that money would be matched dollar for dollar or better than dollar for dollar, depending on what kind of...
Depending on the population, it's 50-50 is our general matching rate,
Right.
But for the expansion population, at that point in time, it'll be about a 90% federal match, so the dollars
Yes.
would be pretty significant.
Is there a match for programs in the education system? Maybe our superintendent could give us some more information about that. But, of course, I'm very concerned about those programs that deal with my colleague right here, Assemblyman Thurman, those programs for people with disabilities and the federal funds that come in for that, the kind of program, and other health care or other services for disabled children that are necessary in the education system. Is there would this impact the federal funds that would come from that source?
The school districts can use the money that comes in from the Prop 30 extension for whatever needs they have, and that would include whatever needs they have for special education and disabled children that are not covered by federal funds or that need a match.
Right. Additional services for them, other kinds of things.
Yes.
Okay, I'd be interested in that evaluation if that's done by the... I don't know if that's going to be done by the legislative analyst or some other person, but I'd be interested in seeing that. I think the voters should know what the impact there is. We are very concerned about those programs for our disabled children in California. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege and see if the superintendent would like to address us now, so he doesn't just stay for the rest of the hearing. Superintendent?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for holding this very important hearing, and I thank you, Chairman Ting and Chairman McDonald, for giving us this opportunity to focus on the potential of this very, very significant measure. Appreciated Vice Chair Nielsen also being part of this convening. As you know, as State Superintendent of Public Instruction, and before that while I was serving in the legislature for a good number of years, I've been consistently a strong advocate for more funding, and different studies over the years have said that California is way underfunding education compared to what it should, what it did in the past, what other states are doing. This gives us an opportunity to rectify that in part. I'm here to say that the investments we are making in education with Prop 30, with the wealth of the economy, of the recovery, they're paying off. And I want to thank you for your hard work, senators and assembly members, for your recent budget adoption, which continues to improve education funding significantly. That's why I'm very pleased with the budget that you just adopted. As you know, overall, Prop 98 revenue reached $72 billion, nearly $3 billion more than the previous fiscal year. And I want to remind us all how much we have recovered from the Great Recession when Prop 98 fell to $49 billion in 2008-2009. One of the very first steps I took upon entering office in 2011 was calling a state of fiscal emergency for our schools. And this Prop 30 avoided some of the calamities that would have occurred, but we had at that time again, huge dismantling of programs that were working, cutbacks, 30,000 teachers laid off, 25 to 30,000 classified staff reduced, Many excellent programs vanished throughout the state. Assembly Member Tony Thurman, you mentioned some of your own experience in having to deal with that. And as I traveled to schools, I saw the anxiety and the worry on the faces of parents and teachers and students and board members and community members that they were forced to face these difficult decisions and balance the budgets. Luckily, the expanding economy and revenues, again from Prop 30, have increased per pupil spending now in the coming year $10,600 per pupil, far better than the $7,300 per pupil in the height of the recession. What are we getting for our investment? Class sizes are decreasing. We're hiring more teachers, nurses, and librarians. Graduation rates are increasing. Programs in science and civics and music and art and dance and theater are coming back. We are providing more greatly needed preschool slots. We are seeing the restoration expansion of summer school programs, which are terrific in combating summer learning loss. We're adding more computers and education technology, desperately needed, and we're far short of where we need to be in that area. And also desperately needed funding for higher education. But as I travel in the last 6 months, last year, I sense a new optimism among all members of the school community and a new sense of hope. California's graduation rate climbed for the 6th year in a row in 2015 to a record high, with the biggest jump taking place among English learners. Among students who started high school in 2011-12, 82.3% graduated with their class in 2015, up from 75% only 5 years previously. This means that 2,900 more students received their high school diploma last year than the year before. The rate of graduation increase among English learners was 4 percentage points, 3 times the statewide average, while the rate of graduation increase among African Americans was 2.6 percentage points, double the statewide average. These are points of progress, but our goal is to get all students into the graduating mode and the graduating reality and the benefit, and we want to see 90 to 95% of our students graduating at all levels. So progress is being made, but much more work needs to be done. We're also investing in career technical education, where graduation rates are in the 90 to 95, 98 percentage point graduation rate percentage. These programs have been highly successful. Over a period of 5 years, we are investing $1.4 billion in Career Pathways Trust and the incentive grants programs. It's amazing. It's actually thrilling to see students who are hands-on, minds-on, excited, learning with a purpose, connecting to the real world. See them building houses up in Eureka or Del Norte or Concord, California, with CAD computer-aided drafting. They're working with 3D printers. They're working with medical equipment, dental equipment. They're learning about where they want to go and getting skills to graduate to be contributors to our economy. So these are incredible learning opportunities and partnerships. We see that moving forward, we see our students getting certificates, community college degrees, and 4-year degrees. And they've created remarkable partnerships, these career pathway trusts, including labor, schools, community colleges, and businesses. In fact, over 3,000 businesses have come forward to offer CTE internships and mentorships that integrate closely with academic learning. Again, it's learning with the purpose. We're also doing much more to support English learners, and we're seeing the results. Learning more than one language will help our students study and pursue careers in a global economy. We increased the number of high school seniors earning the seal of biliteracy, something the legislature helped us get started just a few years ago, which means they are fluent in 2 languages, significantly fluid. In 2012, 11,000 students earned this special seal of distinction. Last year, it climbed to 32,000 students. And our schools are creating new STEM and computer science programs that will assure California remains the epicenter for technological innovation for decades to come, and address the nearly 1 million college graduates we need in the STEM fields needed in California for our economy by 2020. This funding has provided opportunities to provide for more professional development, to help meet the standards, the new standards, and the next generation science standards, so our students will be able to compete in an increasingly globalized job market. And by the way, many of these STEM programs are being helped by the expanded, I thank the legislature, bipartisan support for expanding the dual enrollment opportunities in the state, so students can get to work with those skill sets much more rapidly. So let me assure you that California, I believe, is on the way back. And then I ask the question, as it's coming back, is it enough? Is it adequate? Is it where California should be? And I say no, we must invest more. Overall, California ranks 42nd nationally in education spending. We used to be in the top 5. We need to get back there again. Californians clearly care about their schools, and they're willing to invest in education. The most recent Public Policy Institute of California poll showed 58% of likely voters are in favor of extending some version of Prop 30. I supported the original measure, and I strongly support its extension. Besides the initiative revenues, 89% going to K-12 and 11% going to community colleges, it's very important also, the discussion at the previous panel, to focus on the healthcare aspects. It also allocates significant funding in certain years for healthcare programs. These healthcare programs help ensure that our students come to school healthy and ready to learn. Estimated revenues would increase annually from 2019 to 2030, could be as high as $10 billion a year. We need these billions. We've made positive gains through the recent investments in our schools, but we know from recent research that there is still much more to be done to meet the needs of all students, especially those with the greatest needs. The Center on Budget and Policy reports that if Proposition 30 renewal does not pass, school funding could return to recession levels, effectively halting the great progress we have made in the last 3 years with the additional funding of local control funding formula and Proposition 30. I just came back from visiting a school in the Mount Diablo Unified School District, a summer program, and 200 youth just full of life and enthusiasm and excitement and loving being in school and getting a good solid meal during the lunchtime. It was a kickoff of a campaign that's going around the state initiating the summer program, the summer meals program. These expanded learning opportunities we know are so important, but when you see these youth, you see our future. And that's what excites me about what we're doing. There is great momentum in California schools right now. Let's keep that momentum. Let's keep it going forward. And I strongly urge Californians to support this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee for the superintendent? Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate you being here.
Thank you, members.
We will now have Mr. DeVore from the National Federation of Independent Businesses, who is an opponent. Thank you. Mr. DeVore, you have 15 minutes.